January 21st, 2020. So let's stand and say the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Daniel, you call the roll.
Sure. Blodgett?
Here.
Collada?
Here.
Garrett?
Here.
Larson?
Here.
McKenzie? Here. Russo? Here.
Here.
I was thinking.
Thank you, Daniel.
To say aye or here.
Any comments from the audience? Up there. Item number 5, approve the consent agenda. On the consent agenda for this evening are the minutes from the public hearing on November 19th, 2019, and our regular meeting on the same date. The expenditures for November 19 and December 19, and then a resolution adopting a policy on a work environment free of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation brought by the Committee on Policy. Lending library musical instruments, also brought by the Committee on Policy. The OpenGov community engagement solution, brought by the Committee on Outreach. And book supports, brought by the Committee on Facilities. Anybody want to take anything off the consent agenda? I need a motion to approve.
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call. Sorry. Daniel, you're up again.
Sure. Blodgett?
Aye.
Collada?
Aye.
Garrett?
Aye.
Did you say that? Larson?
Aye.
McKenzie?
Aye.
Russo? Aye. Smith?
Aye. Item 6, approve the agenda. Anybody have a chance to look it over? Any changes? So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Financial reports.
Joe is not here this evening, not feeling well, so I think they're self-explanatory. You've got the working budget and the investment report in here, and the statement of revenue and expenditures. He's still working to generate a readable, adequate, good report out of the new software. He's working with them to try to figure out the best way to do this. That's about the last, I think, major piece of the new software that he's working with. Otherwise, he loves it. He really appreciates the
new software. Good. Very good. Any questions or comments on the financial reports? Item 8, President's Report. I have nothing to report. Item 9, good news or comments from the board. Any good news? Daniel, you have some good news?
I do have just one good thing. I got my email about the hotspots coming in, so I checked one out. The directions were great. The hotspot worked. It was wonderful. So everybody should sign up for the newsletter so that they know about these coming in quickly.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Anybody else?
Daniel gave a wonderful talk at Books We Invites last Thursday.
Yes, he did.
A good-sized audience, around 70 or so people, and a lot of interest and enthusiasm. So thank you.
It was fun. Thank you.
Item 10, correspondence and communications. I think the only correspondence are the 2 annexation documents that everyone probably received.
Yeah, we don't even
Okay,
put them in the packet. No, they just, the city keeps generating them, and we keep giving them to you.
Item 11, directors and librarians reports.
Okay, well, the written reports are in your packet. Several things worth highlighting. Well, defer the new Lyceum lecture series events that are coming up to Stacy. We in the new issue of Neighbors, which was late, an issue we're working on with Neighbors, because it hurts our attendance in the early part of the month when it's late, and so the government partners that help fund this will be meeting in the near future with the publisher to try to iron out whatever issue is causing that to happen. But just in case, since I didn't know when it was going to come out, I included my column in here, in my director's report for you. Although you know I have the magazine, I think. So, but it was a continuation of my series on keeping the promise. Promises we made during the community engagement, the referendum process. And the next Pachakacha night is a week from Thursday, on January 30th, back at Shannon Hall. Do some curious turn of events. We actually have 10 speakers, one of whom is Sheriff Ron Hain, County Sheriff. He's going to have I think, a really interesting presentation for us on that relates to his job, and just a wonderful diversity this time. And our community committee really outdid itself in recruitment this time. One repeat performer that I want to mention is Lee Tracy, who's the township supervisor here in town, a retired professor from Memorial University, was his first career. And he is doing a presentation called Faith on the Frontier, in which he is going to talk about the development of churches and religious congregations in Batavia starting in the 1830s up to the present day. So I have seen his slides. They're really interesting, and he's got some interesting things to say, so I think that'll be a fascinating snapshot into Batavia's religious history. So anyway, that's coming up. And I'm sure that Joanne will talk about Batavia counts, so I won't say anything about that. So also included this time, which is really under committee reports, but I always wanted to highlight it. In your packet is a Friends newsletter, the latest Friends newsletter that is put out. So that I don't know that you all necessarily get this unless you're a member of the Friends, which of course we all should be.
Getting everyone at home.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's under the committee reports, but I wanted to just highlight that it was in the packet for you. So with that, I'll be happy to answer questions, or we can move on to Joanne and Stacy.
Any questions for George? Okay, Joanne.
Good evening. This is going very quickly. Wow.
Knock on wood.
Goodie bag?
Yeah, I could always
goodie basket.
slow it down right now. Well, we have started Winter Reading Club that began this past Saturday. Youth Services has a Winter Library Club because we combined reading activities as well as library activities. And other family type things. So that is going on. Our theme this year is Polar Palooza. So it fits right perfect with the weather. And we planned that for the ice storm for this weekend for that. Families with children, infants through 8th grade are welcome to participate as family units down in the Youth Services Department. And I'm sure Stacy will mention for teens of adults. The Friends continue to be our primary sponsor for our Winter Library Club. They make a donation for some of the material that we purchase. We are giving out books now again for children. Everyone who completes the entire program, children get a book. They also buy some of the gifts goes to some of the little rewards that we provide children. They give a coupon for their Friends sale, so children can come and pick a book out of their sale, whether it's the Saturday sale or the ongoing sale up here. And they're also, once again, sponsoring our Science and Art Fair. So the Friends are a big sponsor of Winter Library Club. We have a few additional sponsors that provide family packages. So we do some drawings. Children earn chances to win some family packages, and we have those to Funway, DuPage Children's Museum, SciTech Science Museum, and for the Morton Arboretum, and for the first time, the Adler Planetarium is one of our family packages this year. So if families complete the whole program, they can choose what drawing they want to be into. So we're very, very excited about that. We've never had the planetarium before, so that's a great thing. As I mentioned, the Friends also sponsor our Science and Art Fair, which is coming up this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This event features displays and hands-on activities from a number of different museums in the area. DuPage Children's Museum is doing CO2 bubbles and digital microscopes. Fermilab, for the first time, has brought over some physics challenges that we'll have and available for children to try. And Jolene Baytek, who coordinates this event, has gotten some high school students from Batavia High School, some science students, I think from one of the science clubs, that are going to be coming in and kind of monitoring some of those Fermi activities. Frog Lady is back with reptiles and amphibians. SciTech Science Museum with some biology activities. Water Street Studio has been offering an art class, so for older children, scratch art, and for younger children, they have activities as well. And for the first time, we have film teacher Jenna Abramson doing some green screen challenges. So it should be kind of a fun thing for the students. So stop in, invite your family, friends, and neighbors to come this Saturday between 11 and 2. It's generally a really fun event, and Jillian does a great job coordinating that and trying to offer something a little different from year to year as well. Well, as George mentioned, Batavia Counts is keeping us busy, and it's only, till Census Day is April 1st, so only a few months away. It is really coming up quickly. And I thought tonight I wanted to share a couple pieces of information to you about Batavia Counts. We're working out some details for the grants that we have received, so we're still working on some of that. We don't actually have any of that money at the moment yet. But I'm going to quiz you, since we have a couple extra minutes, on 3 census questions and see how you do with census questions. So first of all, someone has a new baby on March 30th. Mom and baby are still in the hospital. Census day is April 1st. Do you put them on your census form? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Even if that baby as long as that baby is around April 1st, you're including them on your census form, whether mom and baby are still in the hospital. You still include them as well. While I'm testing you, I'm going to send around the census form that you can see. Question number 2. April 1st is during the middle of spring break. So your brother and his 3 children come and are spending an extended vacation at your house on April 1st. And since April 1st is the official census day, should you count them in your census questionnaire? No, because they are only there for the week. They're not there forever. So they would not be counted as your census question. Your mother-in-law who lives with you, though, she definitely you need to count. And then this is the one that everybody has to think about. So you have a child who's a sophomore in college and lives on campus in a dorm at Northern. Do you count them on your census form? No. Yes. No. They are going to be counted at college, at Northern. So
the cutoff is 8. Like, what is the cutoff?
Well, there's not really an age cutoff. The cutoff is where you're spending most of their time.
Oh.
And they are living, if they're living as a full-time student on campus.
So it's living, not if you're dependent on
No.
I'm still paying all his bills.
Yeah.
But they don't count at your
house. You want to count
Well, they count on the tax returns.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is different than voting, because voting you get to decide whether you want to vote.
And that is a tricky one.
Resident.
That is one of
interesting.
that is a very interesting question. So my next comment is going to be, if you go on the library website and click on census information, it will send you to the U.S. Census Service, and you can find information. Does my college student? Now, if your college student was going to Waubonsie and living at your house, then yes, you would count them on that.
Living.
So.
Got it.
So what I'm sending around is kind of just a sample for you to see. The front page is the letter that you'll be receiving with a number, with your census number and where you'll be activating your online questionnaire and the census form that you'll be asked to fill out for each of the people in your home. So just thought you might be interested in seeing that up front and getting a little bit of an idea. Someone who isn't able to complete the census form online or doesn't choose to complete the census form will have one sent to them as well after a few weeks. They'll be getting a paper form that they can return. And then if you still haven't done it by June, they're going to be knocking at your door. And they'll make about 8 attempts before they'll stop knocking on your door.
Really?
So if you don't want somebody knocking on your door, complete that census.
Is that how it was in the past too?
That they knocked 8, I don't know how many times, if they always did 8 times. This is the first year for the online
Okay, but I mean,
submissions.
yeah, like way in the old days, they didn't have online, obviously.
So you had a paper form, and if you didn't submit your paper form, then they came knocking, so, I guess.
What if you have a baby on April 2nd? It doesn't count?
No.
But I just,
Yeah, that's a good question, because you know,
And
you
it's
could
just-
expect it, right?
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I stumped Joanne.
I mentioned depends on when you actually fill out the form. The census day is
It's
April
not,
1st, but
census day is April 1st, but.
but it is supposed to be people in your household on April 1st.
On April 1st.
So even if you don't fill out the form till April 15th, because you want to wait till your income taxes day,
Because you're in-
it's April 1st is the
according to people's own interpretation.
Yeah.
census day.
So when I was in college, no, I wasn't in college during the census year. I was still in high school. So do they treat those as a group? That
Oh, there's a
college-
whole thing that they talk about on how census, how students will be counted
I was
in
gonna say, that
college.
suggests the students would get a postcard as well or something.
Well, it depends if they're living on campus or off campus, so there's a lot of nuances with college students,
That would
but.
explain why DeKalb and Champaign and Urbana have such high populations, I suppose.
So so that is great information, and like I say, the student one is probably one of the highest questions that come up. Somebody who's deployed, or if you have a young person in your family who is in the military, do you count them but they're they'll be counted where they're living. So a lot of great census information. As I said, Pat has done a nice job on the library website right on the front page. Click Batavia Counts. You can go there, you can do some local information. That's where you can find our November 14th meeting here, the informational meeting that was held here. We've had all of our agencies speaking about the census. There's a link to that. But then, as I said, the general census page, and there's constantly new information coming up from the Census Bureau, so it's a great place to check. Right now, the Batavia Counts Core Committee is working on scheduling census information tables at upcoming community events and locations and coordinating event volunteers at those. This weekend, I'm going to be handing out some census information here at our own Science and Art Fair. Hans Kaiser, we thought, well, what can we do for kids to know about the census or to at least feel like they're being counted and to remind their parents to count them? So Hans Kaiser developed some really cute little stickers that we'll be handing out. And he miniaturized it for our new button counter. So we've been practicing, our volunteers and YS staff, on using our new button counter. So if you would like to see a cute little button and take one home to somebody in your family or a neighbor that you know, they say different things like I count. I have one on that says, what does mine say? Turtle lovers count, and Batavia Counts is at the top in the United States, U.S. Census. Stacy has one that says, what does Stacy says?
Readers count.
Readers count.
That one.
So Hans really did a great job designing some buttons. So we'll be taking those. Next weekend I'm going to the daddy-daughter date night from the Park District, and we have a button that says, Daddy and I count. So we're going to tag on. So some of those things to just take. There you go. Just to kind of encourage people to don't forget the census is coming, and don't forget to count your children. Our button maker is something that we purchased for our makerspace, but we wanted to start practicing. So we wanted to see how easy it was, because the idea is to put it in our makerspace, and then students could come in and make buttons. And so far, I think we've had one of our volunteers have had it. We just got it. So we're just still getting the directions, and it's very easy to use. So I think it'll be a great thing. And what we would hope that everybody would do on the board is to share how important the census is. And just to share with your neighbors, your friends, your family, whether they live in here, Batavia, or if they're living in Geneva, or they live across the country. It's important to everybody to complete it. So tell everybody that you're completing the census and that it's important that they do it as well. And you'll hear more about it next month.
Does the census for a household top off at 10?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't think so. I think there's actually, and that's one of the things they've said in the past, is that people didn't really understand that you can add to that. You can add more information. So no, if you had 15 people and living in your residence, you could put 15 people on there. So,
Thank you.
any questions?
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
thank you.
Stacy?
A few items I'd like to highlight from my report tonight. First, thanks to Daniel for doing the show of the new Wi-Fi hotspot. We have 10 of them available for patrons to check out if they need the internet at home, or if they're out on the go, if they have their laptop and they're going to a park, which obviously you wouldn't do right now. But for the summertime, we've got you covered. So we have 10 of them available at the moment. They are all checked out, but people can place holds and be placed on a waiting list. We use the per capita grant to fund the purchase of the Wi-Fi hotspots, and we're grateful for that funding every year if it comes in. Second, we have a new service that is kind of the resumption of an old service. Tutor.com is back with us. It's available to Batavia cardholders. It's a wonderful service for students, and it's available from noon to midnight, 7 days a week. Online tutoring is part of the service. There are some really neat additional features though. Students can upload a paper and get feedback by the next day. And now they also offer many services for adult learners and adults who are seeking jobs. So a person can upload a resume or cover letter and get feedback in the same fashion. And there's also some kind of online tutoring, coaching in the job seeking and adult learning realms too. So it's really expanded since we last had Tutor.com, and we're excited to be able to offer this to anyone with a Batavia library card. It's available just by going to the library website and going to our database page, and it's right there under education. Third, One Book, One Batavia season is upon us. Our book this year is The Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend. And we have several events lined up, as well as some ongoing activities throughout the month of March. One thing I wanted to mention, the Silent Book Club is coming up Monday, February 24th, 6:30 to 8:30. Come on in. There's a table where you'll check in, and then you'll go off and silently read your book on your own. We're practicing with our button maker too. We've got a slightly bigger button that you'll be presented with to identify you as one of these readers. So if you really just need some time to do some reading, this is the place to be Monday, February 24th, 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening. If you can only come for part of it, that's fine. Just check in with our table. We'll present you with a nice little button. And some people call it happy hour for introverts. So that's what we'll be doing that night. There are other events that are listed in the board packet, and also on the library website. We have One Book, One Batavia information listed there too.
I see we actually have booklets out now at the desk.
We have a little flyer available at the reference desk too. George mentioned earlier, we have a new Lyceum Lecture Series event coming up. That's Monday, February 17th at 7 o'clock. Nick Cirillo of Nick's Pizza is going to be here to present how to build a big little business with purpose. So he's going to be talking about using purpose to build businesses and workplace cultures, and we're really excited to hear from him about that topic. And finally, Winter Reading Club is not just for kids. Winter Reading Club for adults and teens is underway. I'm going to start these with Diane.
Good, thank
Take
you. I
one
need
or
one.
two or however many you'd like for your household. This is the reading log for adults and teens. As soon as a person finishes 3 books, bring the log on in, you'll win a free book. And then we have prizes, a grand prize drawing toward the end when we'll be awarding some of the bigger prizes. So you can count the books that you read during Silent Book Club toward your summer reading, or your winter reading log. That's wishful thinking for your winter reading. And this goes, winter reading season goes through February 29th. So we have the whole month of February ahead and then what remains of January. Any questions?
The reintroduction of tutor.com, especially with its expanded programming, seems to be a pretty significant addition to what you're offering. What's the promotional plan to make sure that all learners in Batavia are aware of this in the job seeker?
We looped Pat, our promotional services manager, in on the 1-hour training call that we had. And there are some resources that Tutor provides. Some of them we've already got on our Pinterest board, and I think she's got those plugged into some promotions that she's doing coming up. I believe, and I'll have to ask her, I haven't had an opportunity to proof the full newsletter for the March-April cycle yet, but I believe we'll be promoting it there. So she has some ideas in mind, and we've got some nice resources that Tutor provides for us.
And you communicated with the schools?
Yes.
What is the book face contest?
The book face contest is where you hold up a book and kind of where you sort of merge yourself with the book. So there's a picture in the current in the Neighbors of Batavia of Laura, that you can't tell it's Laura, one of our librarians, with a book of someone's face that she's holding in front of her own face, and the hair kind of blends as well. So there are some really, if you Google book face, there are some really amazing things people have done.
Oh, I think I've seen some of those.
Yeah, you can get really creative.
Or it's like with paintings.
Yes.
I've seen that, yes.
Yes. Okay. Anything else?
Interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacey.
George, you have a few things to add?
I do. I wanted to mention that the speaker who's coming to talk about a purpose-driven business is actually the Nick Cirillo is the founder of Nick's Pizza and Pub, which has been very successful. But he also has used his approach to purpose to begin a consulting business that's been very successful as well. And he's actually the person that Lisa and I have been in discussions with about being the person to help lead our process for developing a library purpose statement. So if you want to hear, meet the guy who we hope and we will end up working with, he's a very interesting speaker. I highly recommend it. The Trivia Bee this year will be on March 21st, so Saturday, March 21st, it'll be at FONA International, the food flavoring company in Geneva. Our team is already set to try to we finished second last year. We finished first the 2 years before that, so we're hoping to come back and charge back up the first place again. We'll see. We do it for fun, but but we get serious with it. We get serious about the other libraries that are in it. So the goal is to beat the other libraries. And then finally, my circulation manager and assistant circulation manager and I met with our counterparts from St. Charles in this room this afternoon, and we have agreed to be the designated pickup site for St. Charles Holds while they are closed as they move to Haynes Middle School. They'll be it's about a month-long process for them to relocate. And so starting February 3rd, believe it or not, SWAN will remove them from the list of libraries for which you can pick up. And then they will actually begin the moving process thereafter, and I think some early March, I think they expect to be open sometime in March, but I think early March at Haynes Middle, the former Haynes Middle School in St. Charles, while they do significant renovations and expansions to their property up in St. Charles. And they'll be loaning us, sharing staff, and actually loaning us some additional equipment to help us manage that. But we were happy to be a good neighbor for them. We actually have quite a few St. Charlesites, if that's what you call them, that come into our library already because they like our library. And because Geneva, no one knows when Geneva is going to be moving and closing. I don't think it'll be as early as March, but St. Charles didn't want to take a chance with everything that Geneva's got going on. And Geneva doesn't have parking, which is a big issue. So we're going to be helping them out, and it'll be a lot of work at the front end, and as it gets closer to the date when their collection is actually not accessible anymore for a while, it'll tail off really big. And then at some point, whenever they're done with the project, we'll likely do it again as they move back. So again, I think I'm saying this tonight so you know what's going on, and a lot of PR is going to be put out by St. Charles because most people don't pay any attention to whether a book is picked up. The director there, Edith Craig, refers to most people as like quick clickers because you just place the hold, and if you're placing a hold for your own library, you just already assume for a long time that it's coming to your own library. And starting February 3rd, the default pickup for St. Charles will be Batavia. So they're going to do a lot of education in St. Charles starting after today that pay attention to, if you don't want to pick it up in Batavia, you can pick any library you want. But you need to select that, otherwise the book is coming to Batavia. So yeah, it just seems like a good neighborly thing to do, and we're happy to do it.
Good, thank you, George. Okay, item 12, committee reports. Facilities, Kate?
Facilities, we have a big item to discuss on the agenda coming up, so I'm going to defer that discussion until later down the agenda, but I'll just kind of bring you guys up to date. Thank you for the vote on the consent agenda to replace those book supports. We've got some aging book supports that are at end of life and actually causing a little bit of cosmetic damage to the shelving, so updating those supports so that books aren't falling over and our shelves are well cared for is a big help, so thank you for that. We did discuss electrical vehicle charging stations and decided to table that due to some pretty high costs for just design work that we decided were really out of the budget at this point in time. We're certainly willing to look at that again later on down the road, but for right now, prioritizing the capital asset plan. And we did get an estimate of probable costs to integrate with that capital asset plan that addresses some of the master planning changes to the facility. So reorganizing where offices are and where that workspace is for the back of house stuff. So now we have some more numbers to put into that plan, which is a really great step forward. I think the only other thing to touch on is that we are addressing the Equitable Restrooms Act, which is some new legislation. We don't have to change anything about our facility right now to come into compliance with that law, but as we're moving forward, we definitely should be taking a look at making our restrooms more accessible to family situations, more inclusive as we go forward. Any questions about any of that? Anything I missed? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kate. Outreach?
We had a fairly brief conversation at our outreach committee meeting. We talked about one item that was already on the consent agenda, the Open Gov Community Engagement Solution, which I think everybody has been able to see all the different opportunities we have for reporting and statistics, and even some polling and engagement with the community. So moving forward with a 3-year, is it subscription or agreement?
It's a 5-year.
5-year, okay.
We got the best price.
Super. So 5-year agreement there. So we'll be all looking forward to seeing how we start to use that in terms of marketing the use of the library, and then what the engagement opportunities are there. The second topic we discussed was the recognition as a Library Leader Award. We had taken a look at the criteria, saddled up next to different community awards here in Batavia, and the group, after discussion, really felt that we've got good criteria. We really don't need to tinker with that, but what we can do is do a whole lot more promotion of this award, and as a board, keep it more top of mind so that we're being more mindful of potential nominees, so that we have a really nice diverse pool of candidates for that. So that will be, I think, something that we'll want to revisit throughout the course of our fiscal year, is people that may be coming to mind for that particular award. Anything else? No? All right.
Thank you, Mike. Policy committee did meet. We had a presentation called it Board Education by Christine Edison, who's a part-time librarian here. We had 2 other visitors at our meeting. It was unusual. We don't have visitors very often. But Amy Miller, who is the LRC director at the, I can never remember that term, at the high school, and Misty Jump, who's a technical...
These are home delivery.
Home delivery?
Home delivery, yeah.
Okay. And basically they gave a presentation to us on teen services and some of the possibilities that might be in our future, more collaboration maybe with the high school, things like that. So we really appreciated their input, and we'll be moving ahead with some of their suggestions possibly. Policy on work environment free of discrimination was on the consent agenda. The lending library of musical instruments was also on the consent agenda, but that is a really fun collaboration. So I'll just talk very briefly about that. It's with Hicks Brothers, and they are at cost allowing us to purchase instruments from them. So I think we're starting out with a ukulele, an adult bongo, a kid's bongo, and a keyboard. Is that correct? And so we're starting out small and see how it goes. I think they're working on where they will be housed, and I guess Carrie's already figured out how to check them out, and all of those things. So it's a nice, I think, collaboration with our business community. And they also said that if they get any donations, and sometimes they do, I guess there's an electric guitar right now that might come our way. So
That would be nice.
the thing, we are staying away from any reed instruments or anything that you can put in your mouth. So those will not be able to be checked out.
The brass and the reeds are
The brass,
currently off
yeah,
limits.
right.
But
But
nobody wants to have to clean it.
To
so.
clean.
It just sounds like a really fun project, and I think based on the success of the cake pan ability to check those out, we're just kind of expanding on that library of things. We spent...
On library of things, I don't know that we've ever announced, but we actually have a portable projection screen that's now circulating. It's back.
That's the slide projector, right?
No, we do have a carousel slide
Right,
projector that holds the slide. This is actually the screen that you can set up and
okay.
show them on, and that's in a new carrying case laid on top of the vertical files back in near the reference desk. I don't think we had announced that yet.
I
but
don't think so.
That's so from this point on, we'll try to keep you apprised from month to month of things we're adding, but we're just starting to, identify things that people might be interested in and figure out where to put them. That's
right.
actually. But so we'll continue to add things.
Yeah. So some fun projects in our future. We did discuss a major portion of our time in the committee was the minimum wage transition into year 2. And so George and Lisa put together a very fine report with a lot of good research behind it that they use to implement a new salary schedule for next year. In fact, based on that, the next 5 years. The committee in general was very pleased with the new salary schedule. What they were able to do was reduce the amount of gap between the levels, which will really have a big impact. It made the salary schedule funnel shaped so that at the lower levels, the increases are greater. At the higher levels, they're less. We did not accept it. We put it off until next month because, or possibly even the next month after that. We have until June, but we're very proud of ourselves for getting started on this in January already. And we're waiting for an actual budget for salary increases for this year. And then the distribution using that new salary schedule and the total amount of funds to see how it falls out. And if it works out well, and given that there are not a lot of changes in the economy or other things in the following years, we'll have a pretty good base to be working with. So we'll be keeping you up to date on that. And I think that was it. Anything to add? No, good job.
I'd like to volunteer to play the bongos for
I'll play the ukulele with you.
I'm going to duet next month. Who plays keyboard?
Right.
Barely.
My daughter would love to play the kid bongos.
Bring her along. We'll have some fun. All right. Future item 9. Future agenda items.
Oh no, but
Foundation.
Oh, sorry.
Foundation. The foundation did not meet in January, or more precisely, George and I met in
I
January.
would say Elizabeth and I.
And the foundation did meet in December, mostly continuing on with the work we have, but we're still looking for anyone who's interested in be on the board of directors for the Library Foundation. And if that's something you are interested in, anyone at home, if anyone on the board knows someone, please let us know.
We'll be promoting that more heavily in the next issue of Neighbors and other ways as well. So.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Friends, no meeting?
No
But
meeting.
you have something to report?
But the annual meeting of the Friends, Hugs and Quiches will be Saturday the 15th, February 15th at 10 a.m. So there'll be coffee, sweets, quiche, a very short business meeting, and a chance to learn more about the Friends. So people are invited for breakfast and to learn more about the Friends. So.
Thank you,
We had a
Daniel.
pretty successful January sale.
They did. I can't remember the total amount, but I did get an
Even
email.
with the cold.
Even with the nasty weather, they did really well that Saturday. All right, BATV.
That's in your packet. Right behind the Friends newsletter, then there's we just received it today from Pat, a summary of the board meeting, just their salmon colored. Her approach is basically to produce an abbreviated version of the agenda showing what they, and talking about what they discussed and things like that. So if you have any feedback on that particular report, it's too much, it's too little, just pick out the highlights, whatever, we can pass it on to Pat and she can fine tune it for you. Otherwise, her habit is just then to sort of summarize what in general is going on.
Okay. And item 13, the Kane County Bike Share System. I think this is the one thing that we have actually discussed tonight.
I will mention as the kickoff that one thing I did not include in the report, which has a lot of information in it, but one thing I did not include was I was in the process of compiling information on gaining advertising for the bike, which we discussed at the meeting. And I've talked to 3 different companies that work in advertising, and none of them, and maybe it's a sign of the times, but none of them find advertisers for a third party. All of them are more focused on designing advertising that their clients will place. So none of them are the type of companies that you can hire out and say, I've got 4 bicycles that have advertising opportunities on them. Can you find me your clients to? And they don't. So 3 companies in this area have all said that really isn't what we do. So at this point, if we are going to find advertising, it probably is going to be more of an internal function at this point, in the absence of what I've found so far. I haven't given up, but it's not looking very hopeful.
I would have assumed that that would be the case, that would be a search that we would have to do.
I sort of thought that too, but I did reach out to 3 different companies and talk to them.
So I guess just a little background for those of you who are not on the facilities committee and haven't heard any of this conversation yet. Kane County is partnering with a number of different municipalities and other local organizations to facilitate the setup of a countywide bike share system, where there would be set locations around the county where people could go and rent a bike and return it to any other location around the county. They have commitments from City of Batavia and a number of other municipalities. I think Geneva was the big one. I think they said
Aurora.
Aurora already has a bike share system which they are converting over.
Yeah, their contract ended, and so they're actually joining this system as well.
Right.
And Elgin, I think, is involved, and St. Charles, I think, is involved.
I love the concept of it. I think it's a really great idea to facilitate this kind of non-car traffic and healthy lifestyle stuff. My concern, and the reason that I wanted to make sure we brought this to the whole board for discussion, is that we don't have a great picture yet of what the map looks like in terms of who else is participating in this, where the other stops are. Is this going to be something that people will actually be able to make use of in the way that we are imagining that they will? And how much of a pioneer do we want to be in this field? We would purchase the bikes essentially a year at a time. At the beginning, Kane County would go 50-50 with us on bike purchasing. Probably, sort of, kind of.
They've actually committed $30,000.
It depends on how many people sign up, how that money will get dispersed.
And they've got, I think, 60 bikes committed so far from in year 1, which is the only time that money will be available.
So if we purchase the bikes, we have 4 bikes, but nobody returns the bike here, or they return it to Elgin, and now we have 0 bikes in our lot. When do we get our bikes back? Because those are our bikes.
Within, I think, is it 24 or 48 hours,
they'll replenish them?
the company goes around and picks up the random bikes and brings them back to where they belong.
Oh.
So Wilma marked, this is our ID of these are our 4.
Yeah, they know which bike belongs to whom,
Gotcha.
or was sponsored by whom.
Gotcha.
And so that if a person could,
Complicated.
they prefer them to be returned to a designated area, which could be a rack or just a painted square. I mean, we could literally say, okay, by our bicycle rack is where the bicycles belong, and that would be our designated space if we did this. Or we could work with any other agency in town to place the bicycles there. It doesn't make any difference to them. But they're tagged for us. If one of our bikes is rented, we're the one that gets the money for that.
So there is a charge to the...
It's $4 per hour.
Per hour.
And out of that $4, we're going to end up getting about 45 cents or something like that. I forget exactly.
We will get 45 cents?
No, they get.
Oh, I think so.
We get the bulk of the money, but I actually did some...
What's that much, though?
It would not pay for the bikes themselves.
$3.55.
The rental fees would not cover it.
Yeah, so...
We get $3.55.
Yeah, Colony keeps 45 cents, we would keep $3.55. Our break-even point would be 423 hourly transactions to pay for one bike.
What if somebody gets hurt on the bike that's our bike?
They have
In Elgin.
Liability.
They have complete liability
They do?
insurance.
We have
yes.
no risk involved?
Well, you know, a person
$2 million
can
lives,
sue
right?
anybody they want.
Yeah.
But yes, the complete, it's $1,500 per bike. The first year, there's a $50 shipping or delivery charge, and after that, it's just $1,500. And that includes, it's all in. So it includes insurance, like $2 million liability insurance policy. It includes moving the bikes around, which is a common thing. It includes repairing the bikes. Basically, the only expense we would have is $1,500, and they're all GPS tracked. There is an app that goes along with this where people can find out where bikes are and where they can pick them up and that sort of thing.
Additional charge for the rack, right?
If we actually got an actual rack, there is an extra charge of something.
It's like $600 or something.
The rack
Yes,
is not
$200 per
mandatory,
slot,
you don't have to do
yeah.
a rack.
They recommend to have, you have 4 bicycles, they recommend a 6 bicycle rack so that people can leave things. And their experience, they said at the meeting, as I recall, was that almost always a designated location has a bike at it. It's very rare that there's one that doesn't have one, but, you know, again, it's statistics, you know, it's...
And the buy-in date, if I remember correctly, is very, very, very soon.
It's
But
yesterday.
also shifting, right? It's
It was
kind of
yesterday.
The official date was the 20th, but he
Yeah.
said at the meeting that that is a make people serious kind of a date. It's like they're flexible on that. The actual financial commitment wouldn't come until I think February, but they want to have a pretty clear idea. Like this week, I think, is really the issue.
Do we know where the city of Batavia is going to put bikes? No, because I know you guys discussed at the committee meeting.
He didn't know for sure. What Laura Newman had told me is that they thought they might put them in by the new parking lot, where, you know, by Burgess Norton. But he said that he was pretty sure that they weren't going to put them there. But so I don't think we know whether they put them there.
I don't think there's any commitments about that yet, unless there's something internally that.
Just because I feel like that would be very close within walking distance of each other may not necessarily be necessary. Yeah.
It sounded like the list of interested parties were mostly municipalities. Were there any other libraries or any other?
St. Charles Park District, and then in year 2, Oswego Public Library decided to participate in year 2 rather than in year 1, which is an option for anybody, but it would not bring any of the money from the county. If 80 bikes participate, that ends up being $375 per bike that would come back as a grant from the county, which is something. But I said at the meeting, and I think that was why I was reporting on advertising, that I love the idea actually, but I like it more on a level of breaking even rather than spending $6,000. And there are 4 advertising opportunities on each bicycle, both sides of the front fenders and both sides of the back fenders, that can be parceled out to and total $1,500. Or one company or business could do the whole bike for $1,500. But the trick is, you know, going out there and finding advertisers. So that's.
And there's a cost to that.
Yeah. Well, there's a staff cost. Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the staff time that we're chasing advertisers and not showing books.
And both youth services and adult services are very used to this because all the prizes that they talk about, someone's calling and writing and tracking those down. So there's a staff. We're well aware of that kind of time, and it is significant.
Right.
There's also an option to just be a receiving location, you know, where you don't buy.
We could be
For
a
the bikes.
stop on the bike trail without sponsoring a bike. Or we could be a stop on the bike trail in year 1, and if it looks popular, we could be a sponsor year 2. There are a lot of options for us. And Daniel, looked like you had something you wanted to say.
Just another factor in the presentation is that the riders have to be 18.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's not like a family can go and rent our 4 bikes.
Or teenagers without cars.
Exactly.
So,
I was unclear whether the 18 was by themselves or if you were with a family. Are they still restricting it?
Yeah, you
Yes,
gotta be
they
18
do
to
not
ride
want-
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems pretty harsh in terms of trying to make this work, it seems to me. I understand the liability.
I understand the liability, but our biggest market would be, I would say,
family.
or teens,
Yeah.
13 to, right before they turn 16 and can drive, that they would want to use that.
It wouldn't stop someone under 18 from using it, but I don't know what the consequences are, but they'd have to get mom or dad's credit card.
For the app.
For the, or have an app that's activated for the.
Well, the one example that was in the report, I guess the city of Batavia is looking at possible commuters from here to the Geneva train station. So, it would be interesting. To me, it would be interesting to see how many of the city's 8 bikes would be highly used.
What would you think the downside is? So you said the downside of not doing year 1 is that we lose out on the money.
Yeah.
And that's $375 per bike we would get back.
Their goal is to have a total of 80 units in service. And
So
80,
we could get up to $375.
Yeah, 80 divided it, yes, if it's less, if they only have 70, then we get more, yeah.
We would get less.
Because it's whatever number divided into 30,000.
Oh, I see.
So it would offset the one-time delivery fee plus plus more, but it would.
It would pay for like 1/4 of the bike, essentially, is what it would do at 375. But it's definitely an unknown.
It is.
What does the city think? Have you talked to anybody there? Is it, what
They're getting-
what they're thinking the use will be? Have they done
Well,
any
Depends a lot on who
research
you
out there?
talk to.
Yeah.
It depends a lot on who you talk to.
Okay.
The folks who I'm talking to who are most excited about it seem to be excited about using it to close that last mile. So if you get off at the bus stop here, off of Pace, and you live at Batavia Apartments, you could theoretically pick up a bike here and bike to Batavia Apartments, where maybe there would be another city
drop off.
stop. Right. If there's a city stop off there. If there's a city stop off at the parking lot, the Lives of Bike parking lot, I don't think anybody's renting a bike at Batavia Library to
Right.
bike to City Hall.
Right.
Do we know
So
how
it really
this-
depends
Right.
on where the stops,
Where they
and
put
where
it.
the terminals are on this network.
Do we know how this program differs from the divvy bikes that are in cities in Chicago? Like,
Mike can tell
You-
you some
Mike
good
can speak to
insight.
that.
Sure,
I'm
I'm
sure
a divvy
you use it,
rider.
right? You use it.
Yeah.
But I don't think that those locations, Divvy owns all those bikes. It's not like
The
this
city
is.
does.
The city of Chicago does,
Okay,
yeah.
right. But so it's not like this model where each location owns their own bikes.
It's a different model.
Yeah.
And I can only speak to my experience. There are so many stations.
Right.
There is never a question as to whether or not a commuter is going to be able to get a bike and drop a bike off.
Well, that's where I'm coming from, because I feel the same way. I've always seen those stations available. But that's where I feel like the ease of having one owner would be in that model from the city or divvy, how it works, versus having separate owners like this. I
Right,
don't know
because then
how this-
you can overlay, here's what the
Yeah.
map should
Yeah.
be.
Exactly.
Based on anticipated use and behaviors.
Yeah.
As opposed to just working it out with whoever signs up to have one, then you have no control over
No,
that. I mean,
exactly.
the example
That's
of
what's
a
scary.
Batavia Apartments, something close to the Pace bus stop, works perfectly well for a commuter.
But what if the apartments don't want to go into it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We could buy bikes and
Put them wherever we
and
We
want.
work
could,
with
we could
Batavia
actually put,
Apartments
yeah,
and
we could
them
put
there if
ours
we wanted
there
to.
and not have them here if we wanted to.
But I also see
But we're not in the
probably
business.
less of a commuting, particularly since the bikes disappear in the first snowfall and don't come out again until the spring.
Yeah, it's May 5th, the first year it'll be later because the launch will be around June 1st, but normally he said they come out May 15th and they go back when the first snowfall.
First snowfall, so I can also see less of a commute in more particularly downtown Batavia location where someone would rent it to go on a 2-3 hour trail ride along the river.
It could actually make sense, and I'm not proposing this, but if we had a couple bikes at Batavia Apartments and a couple bikes here, that actually is one of those routes that could make sense, but I'm not sure that that's really what our focus needs to be. It's like, where do you put a bookmobile stop? If you had a bookmobile, you sort of look around town and see. So, but that's, that would be expensive, an expensive way for us to support that commuting line, sort of that transportation.
And it's not really our mission.
I was just
mean,
going to
Right.
say that's more of the city.
I support it in theory, I do, but
Would there be a cost for us to just be a location on the city's map?
Other than a bike rack.
Other than a bike rack.
If we wanted.
But we already have
we
a
can
bike
just
rack,
paint
so-
a square on the
Yeah.
ground.
The bikes are controlled from the GPS system,
Anyway.
so, you know, they would be concerned about whether or not a bike disappears from the painted square or not, but locks up the back wheel, and, so they've got their own.
They've got their own security.
They've got their own security.
We don't really need a rack.
No.
No, we really don't. No, they just.
I mean, I would be interested in seeing how that works, as being a location.
The
I
one-
agree.
And getting the advertisement that we're
Has-
supporting this program
Maybe
over all of
open,
the cities.
maybe
in
keep the
Michigan.
possibility open, not turn down a second year entry, but leave it open to see what happens after
But
the
has
first
there
year.
been a study that of the, I don't know if there's a term for it, of the, like an interest study of, you know, are there people that are really interested in this in King County, in this area?
I think the King County Division of Transportation, I don't know what work they did, but this proposal came out of there, so I think they've got some sense that they wanted to try it. I don't know, we didn't even ask that question, what kind of data they used to.
Yeah, because to me that
This
would,
came from someplace, but I don't, you know, I don't know where.
Some kind of market research that they.
that would be important information. I mean, if there's a huge
demand.
interest in it,
And it really is the Fox River corridor, as opposed to the rest of the county, because all the locations, I think, are up and down. We're not talking,
makes
you know, Elburn or,
But those trails all close at sundown. I mean,
Right.
it's not like, so we're looking at a very short window of the year, we're looking at a very short window of the day, that this is even a viable,
and we don't even know if there's,
usable thing.
there's
Well,
like a public interest in
I think
it.
it's reasonable to be a location where you can drive them off, wait and see how the 8 bikes, you know, that the city is purchasing, see how they're doing, and maybe at some point see a map of where the locations are and see how we would fit into that,
And
that
I
map.
think the county's, didn't he say that his sense was that they really didn't anticipate that recreational use would be the driving force here?
I think he said the opposite of that.
Well, he thinks that recreational will.
I think he is not anticipating this being a commuter driver
Right.
as much as a biking is good and healthy for you. And we
Let's
have these
go take a
great
ride.
trails, let's enjoy them that way.
That's assuming that people that do not already have bicycles will be the people
Right.
using it.
Exactly.
Which, to me, it seems like that's reversed.
If we had a large tourist population, it would make more sense, you know. The
Well,
only
we are
places
a
I've
tourist
rented bikes are in
destination.
cities I've been
Yeah.
visiting, you know. that-
There was an article.
Oh, yes, I saw that. heard
The
about it.
the only downside I can think of for just being a location is that Colony, which is the company, is gonna come through and take them all away.
Right.
You know, so.
They don't live here on site.
Right, so like somebody, you
Somebody
know, we
could
may have
drop
3
them
people
here.
that come here and then leave them here and go and get a ride home or something, but like within 24 hours, they're gone. And probably because Colony is picking them up, not necessarily because someone is renting them, so.
So we would be able to tell.
I don't know that they will keep those kind of records, you know, or we picked it up at X.
No, but we might be able to get some usage data from the city, you know, I mean.
Do we have to-
And how our community is responding to them.
Right, well, we wouldn't need to be a location for that. I'm not dismissive of the idea of a location, but it really doesn't,
Sounds like it's possible.
unless a bike happens to show up at our location on this particular day and someone goes over and rents it, there may not be a lot of bikes sitting out there in this program.
Do we have to purchase 4? I mean, is that the magic number?
I think they do them in units of 2. I think is what he said. The city's getting 8.
The recommendation is that you have more than one, but we can get 20 if we want. I like the idea of keeping our ear to the ground for sponsors too. I just don't see spending carpet money on bikes.
Right. The one thing I didn't do was actually call up a few businesses in town. you know, like Batavia Enterprises or something like that, and or people I know, and saying, would you advertise, you know?
But is the city gonna do that as well?
I don't know whether the city's gonna put advertising on there or not, because they could, or they could well put their own name on them. You know, that's an option as well.
But the idea of the advertising is to help pay for them.
Right,
correct?
right.
So I would think that the city would want that as well.
The city has committed $12,000 to this program for 2 years each, so.
And they
they've
could
committed
be considering it
$24,000.
advertising within itself, just to have this city
Oh,
logo
that's
on
true.
the bike.
Yeah. So if you like, I can make a couple phone calls in the next couple of days, which wouldn't take much time, and just say, you know, is this something you do? You know, and,
I think we need to know tonight.
well,
We have to vote on
that's
the
not a
board.
question I pursued. I only pursued the, finding a company that could help us do it.
Is there any additional discussion on the topic? Are you ready to take a vote on it, or?
It sounds like we're all kind of leaning towards not this year, but being a parking spot for the bikes doesn't cost us anything and gets us on the map. So
Expresses some interest, also
Yes.
kind of puts a little marker in the pool by being at least a place where you can drop the bike off.
I thought people could drop a bike off anywhere, not legally.
you
Well,
could,
right,
but it
like the
doesn't
scooters
stop,
downtown,
it doesn't
where
stop
you
your,
drop them anywhere.
it doesn't stop your time.
But they
Is
probably.
how I understood it from when he
Okay.
was at the meeting, that you have to
Oh,
drop it
because
off
it's
as
a
a
GPS.
spot in order for it to finish your time.
Oh,
And then
Because
another
it's
rider
flat.
could pick the bike up from here
Right.
before Colony comes over within 24, 48 hours.
48 hours to pick it up.
Interesting.
Well, then I guess.
But then the owner of that bike, the person whose GPS tag is on that bike, is the one who's still getting the.
The rental.
paying for it.
Oh, yeah, we would get no revenue
Right,
whatsoever for
right.
the location.
Well,
I'm going to move that we continue conversations with King County DOT to become a parking space for the Colony Bike Rentals and table bike purchasing until at least year 2.
I believe, and I'll confirm this with him, that we might, to be in year 2, we might need to tell them now, because that's what Oswego did.
Okay, well then I don't think we should do that.
I don't know for a fact, but I wanted to clarify it. I'll ask him
I
that
understand.
question, yeah. so.
well, what do we
So we're
need
not
to
voting
know
tonight?
We're not
tonight?
buying any bikes this year.
Tonight we
Promotion
just.
excludes buying the bikes.
yes.
But leave it as a parking spot.
As a parking
So
spot.
tonight we will agree to become a parking location
But not
and
purchase.
not purchase bikes in year 1. And we will find out about what the
Whether we can,
rules are for
in the
year
future,
2.
make a commitment for year 2.
I'll second Kate's motion.
Oh, third.
All in favor?
Aye.
I think Ryan is back from his Swiss, Austria hiking trip, so I'll give him a call and find out.
Okay, item 14, future agenda items. We have a nice report that George puts together for us, so
Took us into 2028.
take us into, well beyond my tenure.
A lot of years.
That's right.
I just want to know what
That's right, you
I'm
want to
doing.
know, it's good planning.
Want to know what I'm doing after I'm retired.
And item 15 is the list of our next meetings and events.
I'm still here in 2028, I want a gold cane.
Okay.
You got it.
Okay. And if I'm here, I want a gold gavel.
Fair,
All
fair.
right.
None of us will be here.
Someone put that as a future agenda item.
And item 16, I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.